Hello, ladies. What is up? It has been a couple weeks since I've been on here with y'all. Hope everyone's doing good. Oh man, looks like my dog's gonna come say, "Come here, Porter." I don't know if you've seen my dog or not. Here he is. But anyways, tonight we are going to talk about how I prepared for my vacation and my trip, kind of mountain biking trip. And I had some other issues that popped up, some issues of one, pregnancy, and now I'm currently, well, tomorrow I'll be 20 weeks pregnant. Whoop, whoop, made it here. And then I also, about now 7 weeks ago, I had an appendectomy, or my appendix taken out. And so I had some complications of sorts to being able to gain some endurance, because I live in North Carolina at a lower elevation, and I'm going out to Colorado at a higher elevation, wanting to ride like monocross, wanting to ride all these different trails. But I knew that I needed some endurance. I knew I needed more strength. I knew I needed to increase my fitness. However, life and my body had things a little bit differently planned than I did. I thought that my first trimester wouldn't be that bad. I also did not expect to have my appendix taken out. That set me back a whole lot. I had in my mind that once I reached the 12-week mark, I was going to start feeling better and things were going to start turning around. I was going to be able to ride my bike a whole lot more and increase my exercises, increase my workouts. And y'all, it just didn't happen. Has anybody ever been there where they have something planned and then all of a sudden just life happens? Have you had that? It really sucks, doesn't it? Because it really sucked for me. I was like, April's gonna suck. It's gonna be my first trimester. And it really did. Like I don't know if you guys saw it on here or with any of my posts or anything of that sort. I obviously was trying to keep it a little under wraps. I'd had some issues previously in other attempts of getting pregnant. And so I don't want to talk about that just quite yet. But there was reasons of why I didn't want to share it. And so I was trying my best attempts of trying to cover it up, keep it under wraps, and keep being able to do what I do, which is run a business, obviously, run this Facebook group. I had some help with my other moderators, and also run another business on top of that, because I have a PT clinic and I have the Ride Life, which is my online clinic, or my online women's mountain biking strength and endurance programming. So life just didn't happen that way. 12-week mark, bam, had that appendix taken out. And it really, really, really set me back. My nausea and vomiting and just sensitivity went up exponentially, that I couldn't I couldn't even get off the couch without assistance, because I didn't want to take much of the pain medicine, because that's the one thing that would cross over the placenta to the baby. So I didn't want to take that. So my husband helped me walk around the house. He helped get me out of bed in the middle of the night, because I'm still obviously pregnant, so I have to pee a whole lot. And I wasn't able to eat very much. And so those first couple weeks after surgery, y'all, they just sucked. And I know that y'all know that feeling of having an injury or having a setback or having something that comes into play that isn't expected. If you had that, just say yes, or say, I feel ya. Just something to know that it's not just me that's gone through something of this sort. It doesn't have to be this exactly, but something that held you back. So as I'm looking, my appendix was taken out 6 weeks later. I was supposed to leave for the Colorado trip to see friends, family, and ride and have a good old-fashioned time. My reprieve. And I was like, oh, crud. Am I going to be ready? Am I going to be ready for this? So I was like, what things can I do now to help prepare me for my trip? What things can I actually implement that, one, will be good for my body, two, will make my trip more enjoyable, and that I can actually implement now, along with the rest of everything else, because I had to take even more time off of other work and manage that upcoming to my trip. So I want to talk about that today. Or mindset, a couple of them are physical, and they kind of mesh together within the two. So one of the main things was that I wanted to do right by my body. And I looked at what's my main goal? What is my goal for the trip? What did I want to accomplish within it? And this can go for if you have a race. It can go if you have just something that you want to accomplish. What's your main goal? And for my main goal is that I wanted to be able to see the views. I wanted to enjoy time with friends and family out there on the trail, in the woods. I also wanted to feel proud of myself for what I was able to accomplish. And so that third one makes it a little bit harder, because being proud of yourself is a mixed bag. It's not always the easiest to say that. And so one of the mindsets that I had to first start changing or first start adapting was that I needed to control my pace. I needed to control how fast I was going to climb, and I needed to prepare my mind to physically handle that. Because as you know, if you climb slower, you have to have more balance, you have to have more control on the bike, you have to have more technical skills for that. I knew I had parts of those, but I needed to refresh my brain of what that pacing actually was. So what I did for that to help me with my actual on the bike stuff, my physical stuff, to help me with that mental componentry, is that I went on smaller rides leading up to it. And I practiced the same pacing strategies of going really super slow, really listening to my body and understanding when it needed breaks. I also knew I needed to work on my confidence on the bike, because it obviously had been a little while since I'd been on the bike. And also in the April, I hadn't ridden a whole lot either, because let's just be honest, when you're nauseous, it doesn't really feel that fun to go out and ride in the heat, or even ride and make yourself a little bit more nauseous. Yes, I did it because I needed to get out and go do something. And it's kind of my release to go and ride, as many of y'all understand and do. And it's also my time for spending time with friends. And so I would go out and ride some in April, but it's short, small rides, taking a lot of breaks. Some people knew that I was pregnant, some people didn't. It was kind of that mixed bag of like telling them and not telling them. And so whenever I came back onto the bike, having confidence on the bike was also something that I needed. And so I picked specific trails that would give me specific obstacles or things in it to gain my confidence back. And so I started really easy. I started on flowy trails. I started on things that didn't have a whole lot of technical aspects of it. And I just worked on moving the bike underneath of me. I worked on that confidence through it. And I also wanted just a little time in the saddle as well, because obviously my sit bones and other things of just being in the saddle weren't used to it. They hadn't been. I've been sitting on the couch and not doing anything, things just were not used to be on the bike again. Yes, I have a trainer, but sometimes you just got to get out there and go. And so I needed time in the saddle actually out on the trail for some of those confidence and for some of those like balance componentries. And also because, pregnant. So I don't want to fall. And there's that extra little layer of get your shit together, Liz, type of thing. So main thing, my mindset on my pacing, how that pacing needed to happen was that I needed to gain more confidence on the bike, time in the saddle, and regain some of my skills that I had. And all of those also came with the last component of fueling. And so making sure as I'm going on these other rides, in between whenever I started feeling good enough to ride after appendectomy and being pregnant to when I left, I figured out how I should fuel myself in those rides, because that was like an ever-changing thing, especially in my first trimester, of what do I actually want to eat? What sounds good to me? And 3, am I getting enough salt? Am I getting enough nutrition in that? Am I getting enough electrolytes for that? Because if I didn't get enough salt, then my body would not function correctly. And so trying and trial and erroring some of the things that I potentially wanted for the trip, for these rides, was a key factor in it. And so before we even left, we'd go into Whole Foods and I'd try all different things of what to eat. A lot of them was bring pickles on the trail with me. It was bringing easy to digest things, which you think about it and you're like, well, duh, Liz. Y'all, first trimester was rough as to what the hell I wanted to eat and when. It was like it was a bag toss. If I decided I wanted to eat something, I wanted to eat it like 5 minutes ago. And so it's hard to understand what I wanted to eat when I was actually out there on the trail and exercising. And so as I got more time in the saddle, as I got my balance on my bike better, then I felt confident to still apply some of the things. I also, one last aspect that I did was I added in some smaller core exercises. I knew that this part of my body, my main support system for riding, the one that controls my balance, that controls my bike, that controls how I can react on it and how I can hold the hip hinge, it was the most affected. And so I started doing light, easy core exercises to help me regain my like brain to body control of this. I started doing easy hip hinge exercises, and those applied over to the bike. And I also rested when I needed to on the training rides up to my trip leaving. Then on the trip, I made sure that we, like as things went, like yeah, we shuttled some things, rode more technical aspects than I had any time leading up to it. And I knew that was going to be the case. So I pushed myself and did more technical things, technical riding than I ever had before, from the appendectomy to the actual vacation. And so I felt confident to do that. And I actually even gained more confidence as I went on the trip. And so biggest factors that I want to share with y'all. One, understand what you want for your goal of either your trip or your race, whatever you're wanting to do. Two, how can you combine things that you can actually accomplish to make things happen like that? There's some things that are just going to change. Those are completely out of your control. And some of the things we didn't do certain rides sometimes and I took a rest day on one of the days, which never happens a lot on a lot of my trips. But some things are just different factors that you'll have to accept and move on from. But what can you actually do to make your trip be more fun, have more of your goal in mind with that, and that you can do in the time leading up to it? Is that small workouts to re-engage your core? Is that actually working on your bike balance and control? Is that getting time in the saddle? Like, what are all these different aspects that you can make happen now to change your future? And break them down. Kiara, you said that you have a Colorado trip in September. That's amazing time of year to go out there. The aspen trees are so beautiful. Oh, I hope you enjoy it. But what things can you do in the first, like you have so many months until then. What can you do half that time to make sure that you're going to be ready? What can you do in half that other time? So if it's like, I think it's like 3 months away, maybe, if I'm guessing. So what can you do in a month and a half? Like what are some goals you can have in a month and a half? And what are some goals you can have in like 3 or 4 weeks to help set you up for success when you look at your Colorado trip? Those are ways to look at these aspects and try to hit them. And then you can reassess as you go based on what life has in store for you in the meantime. Like I had goals of what I was going to do come May that had to initially change because I had surgery. But those are the biggest aspects. And then understanding your feeling, understanding how to implement those on the bike, and where to get help if you need to. For y'all, I hope this was super, super just fruitful for y'all to, one, see that not everybody's life is perfect, because it's not. Nobody's life is actually ever perfect. And then two, just give you some ways to manage things, because things are going to mess up and you're going to have some other details and some other issues that play a role into it. And I hope this was helpful. Just let me know if it was. It's nice to see that it was helpful for y'all. Have a fantastic night, and we'll talk later. Bye, y'all.